Well, it certainly is worth a second look. A new federal law on gun violence is intended to better protect the victims of domestic violence, whether that person is a spouse or just in a dating relationship. But a local organization that helps domestic abuse survivors says there are still gaps now in gun safety. 6 News reporter Andrew Moore is here in studio to explain. Andrew?
The new law sought to close something called the boyfriend loophole, and that would prevent any person who physically abuses their spouse or significant other from buying or owning a gun after a conviction. But we also found out Texas already has a version of this law, and while convicted people are told they can no longer have guns, there seems to be no way to know if they give those guns up.
The changing of the law to encompass dating relationships does not trigger any disarming of people.
Defense attorney Kyle Watkins says when someone is arrested for domestic violence, police will confiscate a gun if they find it on the scene or during a search. If a person is convicted of a domestic violence crime, he says a judge will tell them they may no longer have a gun.
Now they are going to be unable to lawfully possess a firearm or ammunition.
But will police go back and ensure any remaining guns are disposed of? Well, for most cases, Watkins says no. And he says law enforcement also doesn't typically search for guns after protective orders.
No, there's not going to be anyone following the issuance of the magistrate's order of emergency protection that goes and searches the residence for any guns, or as a condition of bond, goes and searches the residence.
Aware Central Texas Director Misty Biddick says that leaves the door wide open for offenders to ignore the law.
As a domestic violence advocate and having worked with perpetrators of domestic violence, I think it's a huge problem because we know that they have them. We know the danger of them having them.
And when guns are involved in a continuing domestic argument, she says the danger of someone getting killed will only increase. So while a federal law closing the boyfriend loophole is a step in the right direction, Biddick says we still need a way to ensure convicted individuals stay unarmed.
We put all of this legislation into place, but there's no mechanism to really enforce it. And there lies the problem.
Watkins also said if a person is truly a danger to a domestic violence victim, it's up to the justice system and jail. Chris?
All right, Andrew Moore live in studio. Thanks for that report, Andrew. We also have an update for you now on the abandoned semi-truck carrying dozens of migrants in San Antonio. Court appearances were postponed for 2 of the men authorities believe are connected to the deaths of 53 migrants. Right now, the 2 men, who are actually father and son, are only facing illegal weapon possession charges because both are living in the country illegally. Both men were taken into custody earlier this week after authorities say that they tracked the truck's license plate to their home address. If the men are convicted, they could face up to 10 years jail time.